Going live.
Oh, we are?
Oh, yep.
Okay. What?
We're already there.
Oh, sorry. You said we're going live.
Listen. Oh no, we went. All right. Hey guys. I hope that you are able to see us and hear us. Okay. So welcome to Teen Talk. This is episode 5. So we have one more after this one. We'll be very sad. It will be the end of the summer. So we do have still over 50 of you guys signed up and reading with us this summer. So thank you to our teenagers for reading this summer. And we want to remind those of you who have not yet, you have one more week. Okay, well, you have one more week and a couple of days to put in the rest of your book, to put in your 5 books so that you can win some prizes and get your tickets online. So you have until not this Friday, but next Friday, the 23rd, to get your tickets and your books together. Okay, so make sure you're doing that. Remember, you can log graphic novels, you can log your audiobooks, you can log fan fiction as long as it is of a reasonable length. So make sure you do that. Okay, so this week, just so you guys know, if you don't know me, I'm your host. I'm Toby.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Denise.
And we will have a special guest joining us in just a little bit, and her name is Marlee. And she is our professional of this week. But she's also a teenager, so we'll hear a little bit more about that in just a little bit. So to begin with, like we do every week, we have our wall of prizes spotlight. So I'll start and we'll go on down the line. This is one of the things you can win this summer. This is Ticket to Ride. I believe there are a few tickets in there for this, but you can put a few more, you can put some in, put more in if you already have one in. And try to win it, but it's a pretty great board game. It is all about trains. If you're a history buff, it might be kind of cool, but it's also one of the more fun board games out on the market. Even if it doesn't sound like it, it's pretty cool, so check it out. All right,
we have a cookbook. It's called Cooking Comics, and then we also have 3 different sweets that you guys can make. It's all in the bag. There's a chocolate chunk cookie, there is brownie, and I think there's a cake. So,
yes,
with icing. So,
and then we have the bag that is John Green's books. We have his first one, The Fault in Our Stars, and the film as well on DVD. And then we have his other novel, paper towns. So that can be yours by dropping a ticket into the John Green packet.
And he has quite a few others too that
Yes.
aren't in the package, so come by the library and check those out
Mhm.
later if you want to. My favorite's Looking for Alaska. I don't know if y'all have read any of them, they're really good. So check those out. All right, so we are gonna head on over to our interview with the pro with Miss Marlee. So give me just 1 second and let me get her unmuted. You might have to do it yourself, Marlee, and then we'll switch cameras. Okay, can you hear us, Marlee?
Yes.
All right, good. So welcome to our program. We're so glad to have you here. You've been waiting in the wings for a minute, being very patient. So my first question for you today is, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you have been doing in high school and kind of what you're looking into in the future here?
Yes. So my name is Marlee Norris. I recently graduated from Cabell Midland. I've been heavily involved in the FFA. I've held multiple leadership positions, participated in a lot of different contests and conventions. I will be starting college at West Virginia University in the fall. I plan to major in civil engineering and minor with agribusiness.
Yeah, she's been a very busy person in high school, so we'll share some pictures in just a little bit of some of the things, but yeah, let's start there. So I'm going to share a couple of pictures from or 2 slides of photos from your farm, and you've raised a lot of animals, so will you tell us about some of your favorites?
Yes, so on our farm we have cattle, goats, horses, and of course dogs and cats. So oftentimes we'll raise our goats more of like a hobby, and we'll just raise them and keep growing our herd. However, with the cattle industry, we raise and sell steers for market purposes, generally through the fair. I've been participating in the fair for about 9 years now, and that's something annually that we always look forward to.
Let's look in the pictures. It looked like you had a championship cow, either
Yes.
in recent years or was it this year?
Yes, so last year I received grand champion for a market steer. So basically what they look for is just an overall round good meat quality plus, weight, size, just a good portion.
He looks very fuzzy. I don't know much about his meat quality, but I wanted to pet him. So or her, as the case may be. But yeah, it's beautiful. All right. So what would someone who was interested in, if we have anyone out there who's interested in joining FFA, what would they need to know in order to join?
Okay, so mainly anybody can join the FFA as long as you have that program either at your school or wherever else you might go to. Like once you join FFA, they'll teach you a lot about the mechanics of it and how to really get involved and into it. So mainly whenever you would want to join, just keep an open mind and be willing to take different opportunities.
We've got a few photos up of y'all at your convention. It looks like y'all on a farm around around a tractor, and you at a fair. So what are some of the most fun things you can remember doing in FFA in the past couple of years?
Yeah, so I always love competing in different contests. So I competed in the grassland evaluation contest, and we won at the state level, so we moved on to the national level. And with that trip, we got to go to Springfield, Missouri, and on our way there, we stopped at multiple different farms, and they taught us, the different types of things to look for in ag production in that grassland industry. So when we went to that contest, we ended up placing 6th or 7th in the nation, which is pretty good for a small town in West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
But another really big trip I can remember is with the FFA. We went to the national convention, which is held in Indianapolis in October. And with that, you get to see a lot of different FFA members from across the United States. So you get to make connections, get to make friends. Even though, like you make a friend, you might not have the exact same interest, but you still share that bond and passion for the future of agriculture.
That's really cool. I think that speaks a lot, and kind of will lead to our next question here about So if you were to give advice to someone who was younger, then just maybe even slightly advice to your slightly younger self or someone who's slightly younger of you that may be nervous about getting involved in things, what would you say to them?
I would just say to just go ahead and take that risk and step out there because most people, they have a lot of, self-doubt, and they're worried, what others are going to think or what they might portray you as. But I mean, I have been really involved in high school, and one thing I've learned is that it doesn't matter what other people are thinking of you. You should use that self-doubt to drive, to push you to do better, to want to, overcome and become a leader, because a leader creates good leaders. It doesn't create good followers. So that's something I've learned over my few years. And I think for a younger self, I would just give advice to always remain open-minded, always try to get involved in new things. Whether you may not think you'll like it, just try your best.
I'm gonna take a second. We're gonna share a couple of so Marlee's been very busy in high school, which is a good thing. She's had a whole lot going on for herself. So she, as well as FFA, she's done a few other things as well. So here you can see that she was part of the Rotary Club. She did the West Virginia Envirothon. She did the Grasslands Alliance. And then she was just telling me about something else that she has done just recently. So can you remind us of that again, Marlee? There was another event.
State convention.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at that past convention, it was actually held just last week. Members from across the state gathered around. We attended different sessions. We got to hear a few people speak. We got to hear Kent Leonhardt, the Commissioner of Agriculture. He spoke. A few past state officers, a national officer, he came and spoke and gave his words of wisdom. And through those sessions, we learned whether to be willing for new opportunities, how to maintain leadership, and how to really just set yourself out there and find what your true passion is. I also got to host multiple different workshops, and in my workshops, I focused on teamwork and how everyone has their own individual qualities, but together, we can make one big picture, make a big purpose. I also recently retired from my state officer position. I was the state vice president last year, so I passed that on to some new kids, and they can take that over and see what they have to do with the future.
That's exciting, though. Did you get to mentor any of your new, up and coming officers?
Yeah. So during that week, we got to meet the officer candidates, and we've just really passed down what we've learned, what usually worked best in our position, and how they think it might benefit them and help them out.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. So would you say, we're going to brag on you a little bit. So I'm going to share our slide here about the future. And so you've received some scholarship awards. Would you say that being involved now in high school has helped you in your preparations for college?
Yes. So almost all of the scholarships I've received have come from my extracurricular activities. I would say I'm a little bit above average with grade wise and test scores, but I'm not the smartest. But being involved in all these other different activities has really opened me and become more of a well-rounded person. As you've seen earlier with the Bartlesville Rotary, I was student of the month. It was 1 month last year, but this year I received one of their scholarships, and I think it was really because of being involved in all these different activities.
I think I know for me, I was a busy high schooler too, is that going into college, I again, almost everyone has that A and B average when you go to college. Like AB's, maybe you threw a C or two in there, is pretty standard. And so what sets you apart when you're getting your scholarships and stuff is the other things that you have done and are able to write about in that entrance essay. So do that, y'all. Take the advice from me and Marlee. You want to do that so that you get what you need for school. But yeah, well, is there anything else you wanted to share, Marlee? Thank you so much for joining us.
Nothing particularly.
Okay.
what are your future plans for college? Where are you going?
Oh,
You
yeah.
mentioned, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I plan to go to Western University, major in civil engineering with a minor in agricultural business. I do have a work study with the university farm up there, so I'll be spending a lot of time, whether working with animals and not only doing, the manual labor part, but figuring out the business aspects of it.
That's a good point too. When you get into college, start if you think you know what you want to do. If you don't, branch out and figure that out. But if you think you know what you want to do, start getting those experiences of actually working in it so that you can double check, first of all, and second of all, kind of get like some experience under your belt, because that becomes important when you move out into the working world. So
Absolutely.
again, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, and I think you'll do great. And hopefully we can all learn a little something from you here today. So thanks, Marlee.
Thank you, Marlee. Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna switch over and give me just a second to. All right, you're good. You got yourself. Okay, guys. Let me adjust our screen here on the main screen. 1 second. We're a little small. Hold on. We have a small technical difficulty where our screen has readjusted. So give me one. Alt. There we are. I'm finding the rest of it. Peekaboo.
Here we are.
All right.
Surprise.
On screen changes. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, we're all here now. We've gotten a little zoomed in. All right, so thank you for sticking around, and we hope that you enjoyed hearing from Marlee. We hope if you're interested in any clubs at your school, you get involved and take that little step outside of your comfort zone, because what's great is you meet people that share your passion for things, or even just people that are passionate about other things. And seeing someone be passionate about anything can help you feel more comfortable sharing the things that you care about, I think, because I think people have a tendency to not want to get out there. So get out there, do your clubs, meet new people.
And remember, the worst thing that can happen is you may find that you don't enjoy doing that activity, and that's still a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So
you can always do something different.
that's right.
All right. So moving forward here, we had our book of the week this week, and Olivia read it this week. And so our book of the week this week was Zora and Me by Victoria Bond and T.R. Simon. So they co-authored it. And it is from, you can hold it up. This is not the copy you received. This is the World Book Night copy, actually. But it is from Candlewick Press as well. To give you a little bitty mini book talk about it, Zora and Me is a novel about a famous novelist named Zora Neale Hurston, and she wrote Their Eyes Were Watching God, is probably one of her more famous novels, but she's known for writing a lot of books about being Black in the South in the early 19th century or early 20th century. So, and the late 19th century. So, it's pretty good. She's been a pretty famous voice. She was a filmmaker also, as well as a anthropologist. So she's had a really interesting life, and we'll get into that. Olivia's done a little research for us. But Zora and Me is a really great book. It is a fictionalization of her life. So it's where they've taken a real person and kind of given a fictional story to them, because either not enough was known about their childhood or not enough to fill in all the details. So a real biography might not be the best thing for their childhood, but it's given her a voice kind of as a child. And her estate actually said, yep, this is pretty much how she is, and they endorsed it for being in the spirit of her as a person. So this is Zora and Me. It is also a Coretta Scott King Award winner as well. So I highly recommend checking this one out. It is about 3 children and their lives in town, and some really fantastic stories that happen. So, Olivia, This is a fictional story, but it's based on a real life person. Can you tell us a little bit more about Zora Neale Hurston?
Yes, I can. And in fact, we also have a kind of a biography written about Zora that you guys can check out at the library. I've marked a few spaces in here that we could let you guys know. She has published 7 books and has gone through a lot of really interesting experiences. She was divorced and married 3 different times. She has in the back of the book a timeline of her entire life, just kind of put in the short little segments, as well as the entire stories are within the book. So it's a really, really cool book I think you guys should check out. But one thing that I wanted to mention was that time period where we don't know what happened, it is actually marked in here that we do not know what it is. It's the mystery period of Zora's life. She grew up in Eatonville, Florida, and that's where the Zora and Me is set in. After a while, she went and she worked for Miss M, who is an operatic singer, and she got paid. And then after leaving that, she slowly started to publish books and try. And for the most part, most of her books weren't received well until after her death, when Alice Walker published In Search of Zora Neale Hurston, which kind of launched a Zora revival. So, yeah, we got some interesting facts.
Yeah, she had a really interesting life. She worked with, I'm sure you guys have studied Langston Hughes at some point, probably in school, and she worked with him on a play. They didn't necessarily get along very well.
It ended in disaster.
But you know, she was part of the Harlem Renaissance, and so she's a really interesting person if you'd like to learn more about her life. Moving on. So though this book is about Zora Neale Hurston, it's not narrated by her. So who's the narrator in this novel, Olivia?
The narrator is a young girl named Carrie who lives with Zora's family. Her father went away for work and then never returned. So she is currently just hanging out with Zora and growing a relationship with them and trying to just have a family is what it is. So
why do you think they wanted to use not Zora to tell Zora's story? Why do you think they wanted to use someone else?
I think because
narrator.
Zora was a spontaneous type of woman. She was very excited, and with the stories that she tells within the story, it seems like it'd be hard to understand how she comes up with it. So it's a really good way to kind of view of like, oh, this is what other people are thinking of her through somebody else's eyes. So that way we can make our own opinion rather than of what she's telling us.
And while lots of Zora's stories are fantastical, so they're not necessarily 100% true.
Exactly.
Some things I thought when I was reading it is that, like, they don't want to use her because in the story she might not be the most reliable narrator. Though her stories definitely have lots of truth to them, it might not be the true facts. So actually getting into that. The narrator says Zora's story about Mr. Pandier wasn't a lie. It was her way of making things make sense. So what do you think about that?
Well, Mr. Pandier was who she suspected to be a alligator man. And I think that is her way of making things make sense because she didn't know who he was. She didn't know his life. He seemed kind of off to her, and she had just heard about a murder that was very gruesome. She didn't want to have to think about that, so she tried to make sense of something, make it fantastical so it's not as real and it's not as hurtful to her. So I think that's why she kind of made things up a bit.
And I think that, that kind of carries. So not to give too much away, but in the first chapter of the book, a man is eaten by an alligator, or killed by an alligator because he attempts to wrestle it. And so that's what inspired the Alligator Man story. But again, like to kind of talk about that a little bit, it's the way of making things make sense when, especially for Zora Neale Hurston, who wrote about a very difficult time to be Black in America, because people were put into insular communities. They didn't Anyway, so moving forward, there's, it was a really difficult time. And so there are ways that we deal with trauma through fiction that we don't necessarily, similar to our book last week, which was, again, all about trauma and fiction. It's like, sometimes it's easier to space yourself in order to get a perspective, and it's easier to share your perspective with others with a little bit of distance. So I think they were kind of pointing to that with the story as well. So kind of getting towards our wrap up here. This week, or last week, last Wednesday, you should have picked up your vision board and craft kit for this week. If you haven't, I think we still have a few. But this is what they look like. Olivia was going to share this one, which she made.
I'm very proud of it.
And then the website only gives us itty bitty
There we go.
pictures here, but
I
one of our other teens who I hope is watching us, Maddie, made this one as well, and it has a piano in it, and so I'm assuming that she plays piano and likes music, and is hoping to do something with that in the future. But if you have not made your vision board yet, please do so. Otherwise, this coming week, our theme is to make your masterpiece, and so we have some a craft kit that's based all around that. There's lots of art supplies and things like that in there, but one of the main things that we packaged up were shrinky dinks and the instructions on how to make them, which are a great way to turn anything into jewelry or a keychain or anything you want it to be. But that's a great place to practice your drawing of like your original characters or characters from a manga or an anime that you like, or tiny little fruit things. But real quick, Miss Denise is going to share with us our secret code for this week.
Ooh. So this week's secret code is LEAD, L-E-A-D. Make sure you capitalize the L. L-E-A-D is our secret word.
Oh. Now remember that we were talking all about leaders. So thanks for joining us. This has been Teen Talk, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.